Hello, my name is Zhidian. You can also call me Kim. My paper is a human-centric accessible eHealth booking web portal. Firstly, I would like to thank ENASE 2022 for providing me with such a good opportunity to deliver my research here. I also want to acknowledge my co-author of the paper, Dr. Jorge Caladide, Dr. Humphrey Obi, Dr. Jennifer McIntosh, and Kwanshu Choi from Monash University. Luckily, we have another paper being accepted and was presented yesterday. Here are some keywords of my research. The study presents how human-centric aspects might be incorporated in the design of eHealth web portals, especially booking web portal. With a specific focus on accessibility, we aim to firstly identify the significant gaps among human-centric aspects in eHealth web portal, and then we try to increase the inclusiveness for diverse users with areas, range, gender, race, etc. By analyzing those human-centric issues, we purpose to provide recommendations for applying those essential human-centric aspects into eHealth web developments. We purpose to figure out which features such as changing primary color, enlarging font size was the most popular and necessary settings, and which design elements such as skeuomorphic, flex, material were the most practical design, etc. To narrow it down, we only focus on end users, who are usually the primary user group during the application life cycle. The main contribution of this research are, firstly, we explore the essential human-centric issues which lead to the eHealth web portal failing to fit different people's needs, and how this issue affects user experience. Second, we collect the real-world eHealth websites that were frequently used in 3 different countries and summarize their general web design elements. Third, we identify the different preferences on design elements, such as color, navigation, iconographic. Finally, we develop an all-built-in-one assistance. We call it Accessibility Helper for integrating multiple web accessing features to fulfill different users' needs. Talking about eHealth, it started from 1990s and was defined as a combination of ICT and healthcare. The use of eHealth web portal is rapidly increasing year by year with the intensive demand among more and more countries. However, there are some gaps in applying human-centric issues in eHealth web portal. For instance, in Australia, most online users are female elderly, while the software developers are male in their 20s, who are less likely to develop softwares that can identify distinct characteristics for diverse end users. Those softwares are less likely to be fit for purpose and commonly fail because they were developed without carefully considering various human factors. Worse, the lack of access to fit-for-purpose softwares may lead to a negative user experience and potentially result in unsatisfied health outcomes. Specific case would be patients with cancer. Those who are more likely to prefer personalized eHealth tools. However, current tools they use are barely identified as personalized. We guide the study by 4 main steps below and answering the following research question. To answer question 1, what human-centric aspects are essential for eHealth webs? We firstly identify most common human factors that may cause human-centric issues in eHealth application from literature review. We intentionally design those human-centric issues into the preliminary survey. In order to explore a range of answers from people from diverse backgrounds, we conducted an anonymous questionnaire via Google Form in English and Korean, and Wenjuanxing in Chinese. We invited eHealth web stakeholders such as medical practitioners, researchers, and general users from diverse culture, age, gender, and occupation, etc. We spread the survey into our social media groups such as LinkedIn, KakaoTalk, and WeChat. We clean and store the data set using Microsoft Excel and perform quantitative analysis using Python and SPSS with chi-square. After 2 weeks, we collected 146 total responses, with 8 of them were deleted because 2 were text answer and 6 were invalid answer. The preliminary survey was designed and divided into 3 parts. Firstly, whether the participants used eHealth web portal before. 84% of them say yes, and they were asked to leave the name of eHealth web they use frequently. Those 14 web names will be considered for real-world observation and discussed later. We also asked the purpose of those eHealth web use, and it came to the fact that booking appointment is the major reason, which motivates us mainly analyze e-booking web portal in further step. We asked them for the first impression of using those eHealth web as well. For those who haven't accessed eHealth web before, we provide 3 different UI design eHealth examples and ask their impression. The results show that sample 3 is the least satisfied one, and the comments their preference, such as bright color tone, sufficient white space to identify navigation and information, and most of them are struggle with the unstructured page with too many small text. And then we will ask their preference regarding the color tone and preference cool or warm tones, font size, navigation design, and icon design, etc. Finally, we collect data about their demographics such as age, gender, education, language, occupation, and whether they have any chronic health condition. People from 9 different nationalities filled in the survey. As you can see, that we have less participants who age under 18 and over 66. And also most of them are female. They reported having 18 occupations such as government employee, IT developers, home duties, health professional, researchers, students, and retired. Among the sample, 83% live in urban areas and 66% self-reported their internet speed as fast to very fast and have a college or bachelor degree. They self-evaluate their basic computer skills as moderate to high and very high as 51% and 38% respectively. And 85% of them reported to be a daily active user. We performed a chi-square analysis and found that advancing age and icon design was significantly related. With P equal to 0.01, the results show that a dramatically increasing trend of preferring skeuomorphic design with aging people, although material design is the most preferred icon design. As for the color tones, although more participants prefer cool tones, we found that there was no significant difference in preference for color theme. However, we should carefully consider the color used on the eHealth websites, since the elderly usually feel negative if the color does not fit their preference, or due to their color insensitivity or poor eyesight. We have provided a sample colorblind test in the questionnaire. We found that a participant aged 81 was only able to identify a red line in picture D. He mentioned that the size of red line was the largest and clear. Similarly, 4 participants were not able to recognize green 6 in picture D. They felt not sensitive to that light green color with less contrast in background. Thus, those with poor vision or color blindness demonstrate a strong need for color preference than other users. The preference of color may be affected by participant culture background and emotion states. Chinese people, especially the elderly, with traditional belief, consider red as positive, such as luck, marriage, and New Year, while others with negative feelings, such as anger. These color emotion associations are highly likely to be reinforced by the culture, given that red is the primary color of the national flag. This color was highly regarded in the hierarchy of nobles. even after thousands of years. Similarly, there was no significant difference in preference for navigation. However, when we showed 2 buttons from sample 2 in the preliminary survey to 2 participants aged over 65 and asked them to guess what the buttons were without seeing the text. Interestingly, one non-active online user considered the listen button as a light button, by which he could increase the lightness of the tool. He has no idea what the print button was. Another daily active user in a similar age considered the listen button as a speaker, which was closer to the purpose meaning, but felt confused with the print button as to whether it means next page or download. In this case, without any context near the button, skeuomorphic design seemed to be a better alternative compared to the flex design, especially for the elder user. Reflecting available online health system in the open markets as part of the research is very important. We collect 44 real-world eHealth webs in total to see the gaps between real-world eHealth web portal and current human-centric issues. We collected the top 10 eHealth websites that were commonly used in Australia and 10 in Korea from ENASE, 10 in China from Top China Z. Additionally, we add 14 eHealth websites which were provided by the participants from the preliminary survey. Then we look through those 44 websites by their UI design, such as color tones, icon design, navigation design, language, font size, etc. Compared to the results from 44 online eHealth webs and the survey respondents, it was evident that there was a big gap between what the end user needs and what the online application looked like. Firstly, counter between the design of online application and the preference from preliminary survey. 79.5% online websites are using cool colors, which is consistent with the result that most participants in the survey prefer cool color. Second, there were gaps on navigation style between the design of online application and the preference from preliminary survey. 82.6% participants preferred both icon and text style reported in the survey, while 22.7% online eHealth website design in both icon and text. Instead, 77.3% online website were designed in text only. Third, there were gaps on icon design between the design of online application and preference from preliminary survey. 33.5% participants preferred skeuomorphic design in the survey, while one online website adopted skeuomorphic design. 68.2% online eHealth website design in flex icon, while only 20.3% participants prefer flex design reported in the survey. To answer question 2, how a prototype takes into account these human-centric aspects. With the survey results and a capture of the current eHealth webs, an e-booking prototype was implemented by Figma. With all the human-centric issues we identified, we introduced an accessibility helper that embraces 6 main features into web assistance. We provide 2 designs of the accessibility helper, a robot design in the figure A and a button design in the figure B. After clicking it, a pop-up window coming out listing all the corresponding features in figure C. Users can either change the language, color, dark mode, font size, etc. To answer question 3, how to evaluate such a prototype consider human-centric aspect. We performed 16 user studies with participants from different demographic backgrounds to investigate the accessibility of the prototype. Those participants were who applied yes to attend further user study in the preliminary survey. The user study was conducted via different Zoom sections and held for 30 minutes on average. Each participant were given a same task to complete. During the task, they are encouraged to think aloud. After finish the task, Each of them are given a questionnaire asking for the satisfaction of the prototype, the user feature they apply, and the general information, etc. We divided 4 main domains to evaluate the user study: effectiveness, satisfaction, efficiency, and adaptation. As for satisfaction and efficiency, 93.8% of the respondents felt satisfied with the accessibility helper. 81.3% of them felt the e-booking portal is easy to learn and easy to remember. As for the feature that was likely to use on next access to e-booking web portal, language was the most important feature, followed by the enlarged text, changing color themes, while dark mode is the least important one. One Chinese participant aged 26 to 35 living in Australia also emphasized the importance of filter doctor by language function in the prototype, since he barely understood medical terms like penicillin that he was allergic for, which resulting in a not good experience on seeing an English doctor. Among all the features, dark mode was the setting with the greatest differentiation among all the participants. Participants over 65, especially those with color cognitive impairments, felt rejected when seeing a website containing a much darker color. Instead, participants aged 18 to 25 thought it was cool looking and reduced the visual fatigue in low light environments when using online tour for a long duration, especially for the computer graphic artists and the software programmers. This work has limitation as limited sample size that not sufficient elder adults from diverse backgrounds and those who under 18. Also lack of those who have specific chronic health condition. Second, restriction of conducting a face-to-face user study during the COVID-19 pandemic. In the future work, we will include more users with a wider demographic area and target patients with specific health conditions. Also, we would implement a real application with a web extension, accessibility helper on Vue.js. Here are the references for the research. Thank you.